Welcome to Local History, Legends, and Lore. I'm Julie Lugo, Cerra, and today our guest is Ethel Ashby. Ethel is a longtime Culver City resident who has given freely of her time, been very active in a large number of organizations, including Las Amigas, the Culver City Women's Club, the Garden Club, and others. She also is recognized for her community service by receiving the Sir Optimist Woman of the Year Award. Ethel, welcome.
Thank you, Julie.
It's so nice to see you. Tell me a little bit about your early beginnings.
In Culver City?
No, start before that.
Well, I came from Belfast, Ireland. That's where I was born. And I had 4 brothers, and my mother and dad came over to America with us all together. Now, why we lived in Culver City is because we had a sister. I had a sister living in Culver City before we even came over to this country. And of course, we knew more about Culver than anything else. We stopped in New York for 2 weeks and then came right out here. We never saw anything else but Culver City for a long time.
So what year was that?
Oh, that was 1923.
I see.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
It sure is. So you babysat for your sister, didn't you?
Yes, I was going to school, going to Los Angeles High School, and I used to come into Culver City to babysit for her.
Then when you married, I understand that you moved into town just below Culver Boulevard?
Yeah, right south of Culver Boulevard.
I think we have a picture of your house, if we can see that.
Yeah,
There it is.
Yeah, that's it. And it was the only house in the middle of acres of lima beans. That's all they grew in Culver City. There were a couple of real old houses on the street, but we got to talking to the builder, and we liked the circumstances and the price and so forth. And so 2 years after we got married, we moved into this house. He had a hard time selling the house because there was nothing to see but bean fields. But that's what we liked about the house. There wasn't anybody else around.
So it seems to me you were telling me in a conversation a while back that you could see all the way to where the senior center is now.
Yes, it was nothing. There was just nothing, just little houses. And you could almost see to the beach on a clear day, you know, one of those things.
Oh, golly.
But we did like Culver City, and Main Street in Culver City had a great many businesses open, believe it or not. You could have got anything you wanted in Main Street.
That's great. I remember you telling me, too, that there was a parking lot along Culver Boulevard, was it?
Yes, that's for the studio people to park their cars.
So that was right near...
That was right near Culver, and we were the first house in that block.
So that was near MGM Studios at the time?
That was right. That was the MGM
Studios.
Studio.
Now I recall in that picture, if we could just see it again for just a sec, if you take a look at the front, you will see that there is a trellis or an archway.
Yeah,
okay.
a rose arch.
Now, it seems to me that you had someone stop by, park his car nearby, and help one of your children?
Yeah, when my husband went overseas, I had the 2 boys and a little girl, and she wasn't quite 2 years old. And the doorbell rang one day, and Clark Gable was standing there, and she was perched right on top of that little rose thing right there, and she couldn't get down. And I couldn't hear her in the house, I guess, and he came to the door, and he rang the doorbell, and he said, "Your little girl is stuck up there, but I'm afraid to take her down in case I scare her." So I was so in shock that I didn't know whether to tell him to come in or stay out or what to do, you know. But he did have her down, and he parked his car on our street there because there was nothing but bean fields, and he didn't want to go through all the autograph hunters, you know. So he used to park his car right near our house, and she got to know him, and she used to watch for him every day then.
Oh,
but he was very, very gracious because he was afraid to touch her until I came out to her side, because the house was all fenced in, you know.
And that was Pam.
That was Pam.
Who still lives in Culver City.
Yeah.
We have a picture of you and Pam,
Yeah,
I think.
and
maybe we can take a look at that.
And of course, when my husband came home, another one came on the way, and we had to move because you couldn't build. You couldn't build anything during the war on any of those streets in Culver
So
City.
Pam apparently did not fall down off the trellis and
No,
made it
she
to
didn't.
adulthood, as you can see on the left.
But
Okay.
she tried many times to get over that fence. But we really liked it, and within 2 years, that whole block was all built in. A developer come in, and that was near the park down there.
Now, you had horses, didn't you?
Yes, we had 2 horses, and we parked them in the bean fields until the builders started, and then we had to move them. Because there were lots of riding stables in Culver City at that time.
Tell me about those.
Well, it was pretty full. Every week you couldn't get a horse. You couldn't get if we hadn't had our own horses, we couldn't ever use the trail, you know. It was very, very busy. And they went in for a lot for riding, but that was one of the times when one of the stable owners down there wasn't feeding the horses. 2 of the horses died on the trail. So it was quite an experience, but we liked it.
So, did you go to Red Riding Stables?
The Red Riding Stables is the one that was the owner was jailed for not feeding the horses.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
So-
and the trails went where?
They went over Manchester Boulevard and clear to the beach.
Oh, my God.
If you wanted to go to the beach, yeah.
And did you have hay rides, too?
Oh, yes, they had. They had quite a few hay rides that we used to go to once in a while, you know, but not too often.
I remember you telling me that you knew Fritz Kubisch, who was one
Yes.
of the founders of the Garden Club?
Fritz was one of the founders, and that building that he built is still on Culver Boulevard, right back of the studio.
That's
But
the
he-
greenhouse building.
Yeah, but he built his own house. Every night he came after work and built his own house right there on Culver Boulevard.
And did you used to
And-
walk with his wife?
Yeah, and walked with his wife to Culver City when he got married. He was German, and he spoke very little English, but we got to know him quite well. And then when he got married, his wife and I used to walk to Culver City Main Street to shop, because there were lots of little places to shop down there.
Mhm. And your children used to play down at Victory Park, as I understand.
We were right, Le Bourget, where we built this house that you see on the screen, was right at the edge of the park, you see? And that great big cement round thing that was in there was to train not horses, but dogs.
Dogs?
Yeah, the dogs that they used to show. It trained the dogs in there, and then after the dog races went away, the children used to learn to skate in that. That was a nice little park, and then they took that cement round thing away and had more lawns in there. But that's where they learned to skate, most of them. And right across the way there, you can see quite a few houses. There were only a few houses built at that time, right where you can see it now.
Now, Victory Park was in the location, as I understand it, of the horse racing track that was there for a short time in the 1920s, and then there was a speedway where Barney Oldfield actually raced.
Yeah, that I don't remember any of that because we didn't own any property there.
Well,
And
do you remember Aline Houck Johnson? She was Reeve Houck's daughter. He was the mayor in 1928. I took her on a tour of the city, and what she told me was that they were trying to find a name for the park that became Victory Park, which is now Carlson Park.
Carlson,
Right, and everyone assumed that they named it Victory Park because of World War I and our victory then. It seems that Reeve Houck, the mayor at the time, couldn't find a name for it, and Mrs. Houck said, "Oh, I think you should call it Victory Park." And her reasoning was that it was a victory to have a park,
Yeah.
because that was the first one
yeah,
that was
'cause there
actually
nothing
located
to do with
in
the
Culver
war,
City.
you know. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, most of us remember the park as a wonderful place, a wonderful venue for birthday parties and family
Oh,
picnics.
yes. Right there where you see the shaded area, that's where all the tables are, and it's a nice place to go for a picnic. Lots of organizations use it now for to go.
So you used to go to the park,
Oh,
and you
yes,
visit
that's where the children played.
and then you used to take a walk down to shop on Main Street. And I think we have a couple of shots of Main Street in earlier
Yeah,
days.
see? That's
Okay,
right
that's
down
Main
there.
Street in the 20s. Harry Culver's office was located on the right early on, as I understand it, and then we're looking now.
You're looking towards the north now, I think, aren't you, from this picture?
Right, okay. And then we have another shot, and you can see how it's changed some.
Yeah.
Now you're looking south, actually.
Now you're looking on Culver Boulevard partially.
And you can see at the back the Adams Hotel, which handled the overflow of the Munchkins when they were
Yes, it
shooting
did.
them
Oh,
there,
yes.
when they were shooting The Wizard of Oz. Stellar Hardware is still there. I think that's the only business that's still located
That's all.
on
yeah.
Main Street that was there originally. Do you
And,
remember some of the other businesses there?
Oh, there was quite a few. There was the, across the street they had a place where you could cater a meal and would bring it in. I don't know if you remember the lady that ran that. And then there was the bakery. Everybody went to the bakery from far and near because it was the best bakery. And then they had 2 clothier shops. It was quite a busy place, and a Wellington Drug was there for a while on Main Street.
Before it moved to the Hall
Before it
building?
moved to- yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were on Main Street too. So believe me, you could spend a good hour on Culver Boulevard, Main Street, and it was the shortest Main Street in the world.
Yes, I think we were in the Guinness Book of
Yeah,
World Records
yeah.
for that one, weren't we?
And half of the property owners were responsible to Culver City for taxes and so forth, and the other half of the block was L.A.
Most people don't realize
Yeah.
that Bagley
Yeah.
actually starts at the
Starts
alley
there, that's
on
right,
the
on the
west side
alley,
of the street.
that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, it was quite a busy place.
Then another place that people enjoyed shopping but didn't get there until 1950, as I recall, it was a post-World War II development, was Main Street, and I think we have a shot of that as well.
Main Street,
Culver Center, I'm sorry.
Culver City, yeah.
Right. There we go.
Yeah, that came quite a while. That was where Ships was. It came quite a while after that.
That was a noted
And they had a
coffee
market
shop.
down there too, you see.
Did they?
Yeah.
That was a market basket?
Yeah, market
Okay.
basket down there.
Right. And Ships
It was right on the corner.
was
That's
on the
where,
corner
yeah,
of Overland, and that was actually on the corner where the first post office was in
Yes,
Culver
that's
City.
right.
It was the Machado post office and
That's
the
right.
Sines family dry goods store.
Oh, and they had everything on that block, everything in that center. Everybody loved it.
Yeah, Culver Center Street was Hacienda Street
Yes.
before, and you had a boxing arena and Ed's Chili Parlor. That was Eddie Hennerty's place.
Yeah, well, I never was in there. I know where it was, but we were never. I was never in there. I was still in high school then. So yeah.
Okay.
But it developed quite fast when it started, and it developed real fast. And
When you were living in your house during World War II and your husband was away in the service, weren't you designated as a house where the...
yes, they had if your children were playing all together and there was no one taking care of them, they had an air raid, for instance. They were supposed to bring them to my house, and I had the big S on the window, and that's where they could take the children, and the city painted the windows and so forth so that we could have light inside, but it wouldn't show outside.
Oh, there were painted windows?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I see.
Just for one room, so all the children could play in that room. But we never used the children. Only once, I think, they happened to be in my yard playing, so I herded them all inside the house until their parents came and picked them up.
I see.
It was quite interesting, and the sirens were going at MGM, just full blast, because they saw the aircraft, but they didn't know whether it was enemy or, local. So it was quite interesting.
And didn't your daughter, the one who was the climber,
Yeah.
also like to tell people where her father was?
Oh yes, her father was in Africa. That was Africa, in case anyone doesn't know.
And she was 2 years old
Yeah,
when she
not quite
told
2 years
everybody
old,
that.
yeah.
So what did
So-
you do for fun in Culver City?
Well, there wasn't really much to do in Culver City proper.
Did you go to the roller drum at all?
But we went to the roller drum. When that was built, that was the place you could find everybody you knew in the roller drum.
This is a shot of the roller drum when it was just opening. I think it was like a ribbon cutting. And I don't know who the fellow was at the front on the stage, but the fellow sitting in the light suit was Reeve Houck, who was the mayor at the time.
At the time.
It lasted until the 1970s, as I understand it.
And when they took the roller drum out and took it down and dismantled it by bombs, you know, everybody in the neighborhood, businesses and everyone, stood on the curbing, and the tears were really flowing.
Oh,
because when they took the roller drum down, they really did a bad thing.
Well, the roller drum was an old wooden building.
Yes, it was. And it had beautiful music, organ music and everything, and they had contests for good skaters and not so good skaters, and and it was really, really nice, and everybody loved it, but everybody that worked in the area stood on the curbing and walked and bombed that building, and it was very, very bad.
So what did you wear when you went skating at the roller drum?
Well, you didn't have pants. The girls didn't wear pants then. It was skirts and blouses mostly, and sweaters and what have you. That was all. But you didn't have many pants. You had pantsuits, but that was dress-up thing, you know.
Didn't they do birthday parties for children during the day?
Yeah, they had a lot of things going on, the roller drum. That's why everyone hated to see it go, but they didn't realize how unsafe it was. You know, it was an old building and it was quite unsafe. But I spent a great deal of time in the roller drum. In fact, that's where I ended up marrying the guy that used to take me to the roller drum all the time.
So you enjoyed couples only skating
that's
there,
right.
And did you skate backwards?
Yeah,
I remember
right.
I could never do that. I
Dancing
did get to
and everything on skates, you know.
That's great. Now, Culver City was very well known for its nightclubs as well, particularly on Washington Boulevard.
Well, and they were pretty strict about, you had to be 21 to get into them. So, and unless you had a little money, you didn't go.
Now, there's the Cotton Club. That was a very well-known nightclub.
We used to go to the Cotton Club quite a bit on a Friday night, because if your date had a little bit of money, he could take you there. But the dancing and everything was fine. That was a beautiful place.
What was it like inside?
Very, very pretty, big, and didn't have any tables to speak of, but had lots of dancing room.
And Louis Armstrong actually played there.
A lot of them did, and it got so that we'd look forward to different orchestras coming every week. You know, you could look on the program and see who was coming, and that's where you spent your Friday nights.
Now, that was on the corner of National and Washington.
In Washington, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was big. But
did that burn down?
But that was another thing when everybody stood and watched it burn down.
Oh.
And it was really, but of course it was an old building too, older than the roller drum even, you know.
Okay, excuse me, we have an ad for Fatty Arbuckle's Plantation Cafe. You can see it on the monitor now. And do you remember ever going there?
No, I never went there because it was expensive and it was kind of exclusive, and you just didn't let your children go in there. And if my parents knew I went to Arbuckle's place, I wouldn't have got out again.
Oh my gosh! Okay, we have a picture of it.
It was
too.
a real nightclub, and it was kind of risque, I guess. Yeah, but it was a nice building, and I think I was only in it once, and we didn't eat or anything there. We just went to see what it was like inside, really.
It was my understanding that nightclub was Fatty Arbuckle's, who had actually gone across the street to La Bayona School as a child.
That's right.
And he didn't have the best of reputations in his later years.
He didn't.
No.
And that's what I say. Parents that knew their children went there, they stopped it right now. But he did quite a business, I guess.
So where did you work when you were living in Culver City?
Well, I worked in Relax-the-Sizer, which was Santa Monica Boulevard.
Oh, you did?
And then after they closed down, I went to work for Mayor Wright. And I worked for Mayor Wright's Insurance for a long time.
And didn't you work at a market in Culver City a long time
Yeah,
ago?
when my husband was overseas, I worked in the city market, and it was right across the street from the Culver Theater. And it was a nice market too, and we did quite a trade during the war years. But I just worked part-time till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I went and picked up the kids at school.
Where did they go to school?
Culver City School. It was the oldest school there.
Culver Grammar School,
Yeah.
which is now Lynn Howe.
That's right.
Okay.
La Bayona School was there too, but we didn't live on that side of Washington, you see. And there was a Roberts Market there, and there was a city market, and I just worked while the kids were in school, that was all. But Culver City really grew, and on Culver Boulevard, there was lots of things going on all the time. Lots of people who worked in the studio lived right on Culver Boulevard.
And they were a major employer, even of recent high school graduates,
Oh,
weren't
yes. So, but down as you walk down towards Main Street, that's where all the action was. They had a bowling alley, and the restaurant in the corner, and lots of places down there.
It really was.
Down. Oh yeah.
It really was downtown.
And they had this. Yeah, it was downtown Culver City. Citizens News and everything was down there.
Tell me about the most memorable people in Culver City.
Well, you mean people who lived there? Or
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of, Culver City was really a lot of places for the extras and for the movie people to hang out. The bowling alley, you could go down there any time and you could have found any of them.
Really?
There was lots going on in between all the little shops in Culver City.
What about Dan Coombs? Did you know him?
Oh yes, quite well. Dan,
I think we have a picture of the early
Yeah.
trustees of the city.
and he was one of the nicest, and his niece and I still,
He's pictured on the left.
yeah, he's on the
in
left.
that. And then we have a close-up of him as
But
well.
Dan, he was quite a person in Culver City. Everyone went to him for that's a good picture of him there. They went to him for advice about Culver and everything. He was down at the bottom of Duquesne and Jefferson.
He built a lot of the
Yeah.
early cottage-style homes.
Yes, he did.
there. He was a contractor. In
Yeah.
fact, I think he's the one who built Fatty Arbuckle's Plantation Cafe, and the contract was
He might
that
have.
he had to
yeah.
build it within a month, and he
He
just
might
made
have.
it. He built it in 28 days.
Yeah, he may. But he had a big place down at the bottom of Duquesne and Jefferson down there, and then all the little houses in between, But his daughter-in-law and I still run around together. She lives in the valley.
And her name is?
And Eleanor Coombs, and Chick Coombs is one of his sons. He was the author in the space. He used to do a lot of space things, writing for the space programs,
And then you had
And then
his
Ronald
son,
Coombs was another son that was the attorney.
who had an office on
Yeah,
Washington Boulevard.
Washington too, yeah.
Mhm. And then after
He-
that, his son took over.
Yeah. His son is still there, from what I understand.
3 generations,
Yeah.
that's right. That's
He
amazing.
Sure did, yeah.
Did you know Dan Patacha, our mayor emeritus?
Well, just knew him, by seeing him. That's one thing about it. All the people who ran for anything in Culver City, they really worked for Culver City. They did everything to improve it and everything else. And the big Triangle Hotel, which is in the middle of Culver City still,
The Culver Hotel.
the Culver Hotel, I think it'll be there. Well, they can't touch it.
It's a landmark
It's a
structure,
landmark,
and it's
that's
also on the
right.
National Register
Yeah.
of Historic
So,
Places.
although Culver City is growing around it, just wonderful, and, becoming a regular city, it really has kept its tradition, which is nice, I think.
Well, and I think one of the traditions is that as residents do become so involved, and I
Yeah.
think we have a picture of you receiving the award from the Seroptimist Club. This was Perla Staples on the right, And it's when you received Woman of the Year, am I right?
Yes, and Pearl is still living there. She still has a real estate office there.
That's great. Now tell me some of the organizations and the fun that you've had. You've been really involved in the garden club, haven't you?
Well, if you're involved in any club in Culver City, it keeps you busy. You've got everything, you know. They really put on lots of programs. You could be gone every night in something.
I'm sure of
But
that.
of course now we've all gotten older, and all the old timers are going, and the new ones are coming in, but they don't have the same interest in Culver City that we did, you know.
Well, I think it's great that you spent so much
and we
time
had,
being involved.
They didn't have a high school in Culver City when we moved there.
Right,
They
there
went
was-
to Hamilton.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
Ethel Ashby, I want to thank you so very much for joining us today. Ethel is truly the backbone still of the Culver City Women's Club, and we enjoyed all of the work that she has done. And Ethel
Thank
today
you for
is,
asking me, Julie.
well, I hope you'll come back and visit us
Oh,
another
yeah.
time soon.
It was just great.
Okay. You have a good day, and we'll see you soon. I'm sure we'll see you at a women's club meeting.
Thank
very
you for
soon.
asking me, Julie. I'm honored because Culver City has always been a lifetime with us.